All right.
Hi, everyone. So we're back here again with DSSBreak. You know the drill. We're going to go on mute for about 30 seconds to a minute, and then I'll be back with my awesome guest. And so, yeah, hang in there. Alrighty, well, I feel like we could probably just go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to DSSBreak. I'm here live every Thursday to talk about data science experiences and best practices with leading data professionals in a short 15-minute break. I'm Anna Anderson, CEO and founder of Formulated by, home of the Data Science Salon, and I'm streaming here from the HQ of Formulated by, located in the heart of Miami, right next to the Design District. And today I'm really, really excited to be here with a friend, Carlos Ariza, who is the chief data scientist at CAA, or Creative Artists Agency, a leading entertainment and sports agency based in Hollywood. And he's actually local. And it's really, really nice to have you here. Really excited to have you, Carlos.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is great.
Awesome. So maybe we could dive in and you could tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of the work that you're doing at CAA.
Sounds good. Yeah, so I joined CAA about 4 years ago. There was a big transformation at that time where the company decided to get serious about data and build what we call now CAA Data. It's our internal data team. And so I was brought in to build our data science function. And the data science function lives as part of the overall data program. And we also have data insights, data analytics, data management, and data engineering as different functions within the team. But it's been a great ride, seeing it from scratch, building it from scratch, and then it's very different from my previous experience. I get to work now in entertainment, streaming data, box office data, music, sports. But I come from healthcare, so before doing this job, yeah, I was about 12 years in between healthcare consulting. I work for Baptist Health, the local hospital system, and the health insurance plans as well. And I had done data science, or what we used to call at the time decision sciences back.
Decision science, yeah.
Yeah.
So what kind of made you leave that space and get into entertainment?
Well, I think it's some of it was just the opportunity of building something from scratch and starting from zero. I had been doing consulting for a while, and in consulting, you don't actually get to build. You recommend, you manage, you propose and analyze, but having to be hands-on and actually, something that was just an idea and then seeing it now in production, being used by agents, things that get published and in the press, it's very rewarding, to have that opportunity to do it hands-on. So that was a big change. But what I was doing before was in some ways very similar. I was doing a lot of data analytics platforms, implementing cloud solutions, that kind of stuff. And I think it was kind of a natural transition on the technology side. But there are very different rules. So there's, for example, privacy rules, and in healthcare you have HIPAA. And now in entertainment, we have things like GDPR and some other, regulations that are important to keep track of. So the challenges don't change. I think it's more like the domain expertise that I had to learn really fast about, how entertainment works. But it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you picked it up really quickly and it's going really well. And maybe you could talk about some of the hottest things that are happening in AI in the entertainment industry and kind of some of the things that you're excited about.
Yeah. So I think, obviously, there's a big revolution, just like any industry, right? And I won't talk much about what's happening with special effects and all that. It's not really my area, but of course, what you're seeing in movies and music and so forth, it's just unbelievable, right? What can be done now with special effects. But I'm going to call it on the administrative side of understanding how to put a cast together, understanding what a story is about, understanding whether diversity and representation are getting better over time. Those are things that we can now measure, so we're actually able to see and extract traits from a story and turn a script from a movie into specific traits, which is basically going from unstructured to structured data, which then allows us to feed that into models and be able to say, well, these two stories are very similar, or they're different in certain ways, or this particular cast would work together better. And it's not just like a what we call chemistry, of the cast. You can actually measure it's because their history and the catalog of work they've done so far is overlaps, and that creates a signal that we can actually use to help recommend those kinds of decisions. And then eventually our goal is to measure the value of our clients' contributions to a project. So I feel like it's a really great time to be working here, because the technology has gotten to a point where it can do those kinds of things. So I'm really excited about natural language processing in general, and I think there's some people doing really interesting things with natural language generation, where actually computers are creating some of the scripts and all that. But that's obviously very early days still. But I think we're going to see amazing things in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, this is one of our largest, most popular verticals, the media entertainment one. And I think there's definitely going to be a lot of new and more exciting things coming out. And I think you definitely did the right thing by leaping into that space, which is, definitely. I mean, I'm sure healthcare is also rewarding to be in, but this is definitely the fun space, right?
Definitely a lot of fun. You get to what we do on the weekends, watching Netflix and going to the movies, then you get to work on it all week. So
yeah, no, that's really neat. That's super neat. And you're going to be speaking about progress towards enterprise AI at tonight's machine learning and AI meetup, which is our day 4 and our last day. I can't believe it. It's been such a fun week of
been great.
Awesome events. It's going to be at 4 Geeks Academy. And maybe you could talk a little bit about what you're going to cover in that talk.
Yeah, so I feel like it was important to give a little bit of the journey of how we got here. And so I talk a little bit about the structure, where we were at the beginning and how we evolved. But a lot of what I'm going to talk on the second half of the presentation is our most recent applications. So some of the very specific applications of machine learning, the challenges we've had with data, things like data unification are very difficult. I'll give you an example. When you're dealing with connecting 2 or 3 or 5 different data sources, you need to know that this person or this particular movie is the same across all sources. And, it's not, for example, if it's a remake of an old project, you can't just join by name, right? You have to know what year it was released, and you have to know a lot of the other metadata to connect it. So there's a lot of challenges with that in data preparation before you can feed it into a model. So we spend a lot of time on that. And then once you have the models, then you can do really interesting things about similarity, about clustering, prediction of potential performance of a show or a movie, helping, for example, on the music side, helping our agents with planning tours, and especially now after COVID, after the pandemic, there's a lot of interest in helping to figure out, well, how has the landscape changed? Some venues may have closed, other new venues may have come online since the pandemic. So there's a lot of change, and the experience and what's in the head of the agents may not fully align with the new normal. So having the data and that's refreshed daily, and it's being supported by these kinds of tools and algorithms, is really helping the agents be more productive.
Yeah, speaking a little bit more about the data prep side of things, because I hear that a lot from people. Yeah. What do you think could be are there any tools that are working on solving that problem? Because I feel like that is the problem people are talking about all the time. Because data scientists should not be I feel like that's not something that you should be doing as a data scientist, is cleaning a bunch of data, right?
The old saying was data science is 80% data cleanup and 20% or 90%, whatever percentage you want to say. You always feel like you're always cleaning data. And part of what happens is that sometimes you discover that there's problems with the data after you train the model. So there's kind of a feedback loop there that says, okay, I think my data is clean. When I train the model, I get strange results, and that shows me that I have issues. But there's a lot of data tools that are emerging. One of the ones we like the most is one called Tamer, TAMR.
Yep.
And they're a startup in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and we worked with them for a while. And they're very good at this kind of problem, basically unifying data sources automatically. And there's always what I'm going to call the last mile problem. There's always a long tail of small items that you have to do manually. And sometimes we use Mechanical Turk. Sometimes we use just, temps. I mean, there's a lot of like human solutions, but solving that last mile problem would be great. I think that's one of the things that slows everybody down, because you have to do a lot of like manual labeling and so forth, and it's very time consuming.
Yeah, no, I think, like there's definitely, that's why this market is so, I think, hot right now, is because there's just so much problems to be solved still. And maybe you could talk a little bit about like some other issues that you come across or challenges when you are building machine learning models, aside from the data cleaning.
No, of course. I think one of the challenges is that in some ways, it is a small data problem. If you think about training a model with historical box office data, right? So you may have a few hundred movies that come out a year. So if you're a large data set, maybe 3,000 movies. So if you're trying to say, okay, are these movies similar? Or I'm trying to group them. Your data set isn't that big, and also the movie may have performed poorly for other reasons, right? There may have been, another event happening at the same time, or it was the 4th of July weekend, something happened. So you have to capture all those things. And when the data sets are small, you have to do a lot more feature engineering and a lot more cleanup and thinking of model structure. So you're kind of injecting your own knowledge and experience into the models. Whereas when you have billions of data sets like Google or Facebook or something like that, they can use brute force, to find the features, and the features emerge from the data. But in our case, we spend a lot of time thinking about feature engineering because the data sets are smaller, even though we have, potentially large data sets in terms of like viewership patterns and music consumption and all that. But the actual, for example, number of projects is very limited. So
well, I think that's
something to deal with.
That's why the ML ops space is really, I feel like blowing up, because they're trying to solve that problem, right, that you're talking about. Are you guys using anything like, I mean, I'm sure you probably have a vendor that you're working with for that too, right?
Yeah, no, we use, so for example, we work with DataBreaks as a platform, and we do a lot with them, and it helps us a lot to simplify a lot of the pipelining,
right?
And just automation and testing, and I'll talk tonight. I'll talk a little bit about how we use MLflow, which is their version of model management, because that's how it allows us to basically test and run experiments very, very fast. And just keep improving,
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been like a really great conversation, and I'm really excited to continue tonight. It's, we're going to be at 4Geeks Academy tonight, and we're also going to be live streaming this. So actually one of our team members, I think, shared a link. So if you guys are interested to see Carlos's talk, it's going to be available at around 7 p.m. tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. And Carlos, I look forward to seeing you in person, which is
definitely,
again, really exciting to be back together again. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in again today. And I'll see you again next Thursday. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.